Hi guys, give us a second. We're just fixing something real quick.
Hi guys, welcome back to another week of YIC. Thank you all so much for being here. There's 27 people so far and climbing. We just want to welcome you all. Thank you so much for being here. Today you guys are in for a great meeting. We'll be having a guest speaker today. Stay tuned. He is a professional and investment professional at that. So if you're interested in a career path in the financial industry, or if you want investing tips or to hear the journey of a professional, stay tuned. But before that, we do have a few other nuggets of information for you guys. So Malik is going to show you how to set up your account and get started with the Jamaica Stock Exchange game. If you don't know, we do have our own game established with the Jamaica Stock Exchange where you can practice trading stocks with virtual money, $100,000, and this, you might even win a prize. So Malik, you can let us know how that goes.
Hey guys, so I'm gonna just do a brief run through on how you set up your account on the JSC website, how you join the game, and how you go about like just entering and waiting until the JSC reps admit you. So let me cast my screen quickly. Are you guys seeing?
Yeah, we're
okay.
seeing.
Okay. All right. So we're here on the homepage of the Jamaica Stock Exchange website. So this is where you mainly go. So if you have an account already, press sign in. If you haven't had an account, if you don't have an account yet, register. It's pretty simple, just an email and a password, and it's easy to get through. So since I already have a password and an email, I'm gonna press sign in. I'm gonna go to, well, I'm already signed in. So, sign in, it's still loading. It says go to stock market game from my JSC. And it brings you to the account page where you sign in with your username, email address, and password. So, if your name is Michael Smith, or whatever your email is, and whichever password you entered. So I'm gonna log in right here. It's taking a while, slow. Okay, so when you reach into the account now, you have My JSC, and under My JSC, you have the stock market game, stock portfolio, and account statements. So what we're talking about now is stock market game. So press on stock market game, and then you choose your game. So this is our specific game right here, UE Young Investors Club 2021-2022, private October 11, 2021 to April 1st, 2022. So you click on this one right here at the bottom. And right where it says view my portfolio is where you would say join game. So you press on join game. And when you join your game, you put in your actual name. So my name is Malik Smith. So you write in your name, first name, last name, legal name. And when you get to the next thing, I can't do it again, so I can only do it once. It asks you for your institution. So when it asks you for your institution, put UE Young Investors Club 2021-2022, confirm, and it's gonna say pending right here. And within a day to like a few days, the JC reps will confirm you and put you in once you signed up already. For people who sign up this week, I'm gonna be sending off batch 2, the names in batch 2 to the JC reps tomorrow. So if you want to get in on this batch, sign up right now if you haven't signed up right now. I think someone can maybe drop the link again in the chat. Yeah, so pretty much that's it, really. That's how you sign up and everything, and that's how you set your profile up and get to the game.
All right, thank you so much, Malik. So guys, now we'll be moving into Jason's presentation. So this information that Jason is about to present is very beneficial if you're playing that game and if you invest on the live market too. So stay tuned, participate where you can, and interact. So Jason, take it away.
All right, thanks, Victoria. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm not seeing my thing light up. Are you seeing my screen and hearing me?
Yeah, we're seeing and hearing fine.
Awesome. Okay, so let us FN and F5. I think that's how you do it. Yeah, great. All right, guys. So, couple stuff this week. We see that MJE, so that's different from Mayberry in general. This is Mayberry Jamaican Equities. They published their Q3 unaudited reports, and it's looking pretty good. You see those up arrows, all of those stuff are things that we like to see going up. So that's pretty cool. The operating expenses, though, which was interesting, they shrank in the third quarter compared to last year's third quarter by 2.2 million, right? And they said that they saved on computer fees. But management fees, because of the improvement in assets on the value under management, so they got more money, they have to pay more to manage that. That was a 27.2 million increase in costs because of it. So that was crazy. So sure, these metrics look really nice, but that's why it's important to read the fine print. And also, if you're an investment manager and you have assets under management, that's part of your compensation. So today, I'm looking forward to hear what Simon has to tell us about being the kind of person who benefits from these management fees. So we're in for a good treat today.
Before you move on from MJE, it also confirms something that we're talking about a little bit in the group. In I think 2 of the WhatsApp groups we have. So it confirmed that MJE is in fact the seller for lumber. There's like a huge order in the queue for lumber that has been holding down the price. And the results show that I think they sold a couple hundred, I think $100 and something million worth of shares. It showed that they disposed of that.
Oh, thanks for that, Matthew. I didn't know about that.
Wow,
so
that's
lots of
really
stuff happening.
Interesting. So, Matthew, do you know if that order was filled that has been holding it down?
It's still. Remember, I said it's a hidden order, so we don't know the true size of the order.
About 318, was it?
It's at 308 now, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's still there. They're still selling.
Okay.
Interesting stuff.
So guys, just a quick point. If you're new to investing, when the results are published every quarter and in annual reports, you'll always see the top 10 shareholders of companies. So you can look there and see which company is invested in which one, because they're all interrelated. So if one is being affected, then the other will too. So that's how we gain insight that Mayberry Jamaican Equities is actually a major shareholder in lumber. So for you guys playing the game, the stock market game, you can definitely look out for that.
Thanks for that, Victoria. So you see, guys, the market doesn't necessarily react to everything, right? Or react in the ways that we'd expect. So if you see this being published, was it this week or very recently, you'd probably expect the stock price to go up a lot. But, you don't want to only be predicting, oh, this is the little bit of information. The idea of a market is to outsource what the price should be. And those are just so many people and their situations and their decisions. So your opinion may not be the opinion of everyone else. And we see that here it's averaging to something that, you wouldn't expect seeing this. Maybe in the coming week, in the coming month, it will go up, it will go down, it would stay the same. We don't know, but that's why we keep watching it. Some other news, Cygnus Real Estate Finance Limited, it had a listing ceremony. This was actually last week, Tuesday, I believe, but I just thought it was pretty cool that they had one in person, albeit being small. So it's cool to see the real estate market getting a lot more formality in it. We know in Jamaica, we don't have much regulation for REITs, and some persons might think persons in the real estate investment industry would like that. From what I understand, they actually wanted more regulatory structure to help them. So it's cool to see that this is getting onto the market. It's listed. So it's just something to watch.
This is indeed something to watch, because if you guys notice, it's unusual to me. It might be unusual to you guys too, that the way this real estate company is performing. And when you think of other companies in the same industry, such as Carib Cement and Lumber Depot, there's some kind of inconsistency here. So it's interesting to see what's going on. Since Cygnus has listed, the volumes have been extremely low. I don't think they've traded even $1 million in value in any given day since they've listed. So it's pretty interesting to see their IPO, their current price is below the IPO price. So some persons might see that as a buying opportunity, or you might expect it to go down further, or it could go up, who knows, but let's stay tuned and keep an eye on it.
That's why we keep watching it.
I think that goes back to the fact that the JSE didn't tell us that they were going to be listing it. It just popped up on the market kind of by surprise. And the sentiment behind it wasn't so hot coming into like the IPO. So I think the price being low and the volumes being low is a combination of that.
That makes sense. Moving on, we're a little pressed for time. Let me click and get it there. Great. Now, Blue Power has been the center of so much controversy lately. Now, they are in the middle of a court case, Matthew was telling me, about somebody saying that they don't produce real soap. They recently had like a shipment detained in some other country for not meeting whatever standards allegedly, so much controversy. And in the middle of that, they had this deal with Kirk FP Limited, somewhere that not many of us may know of. But what we do know is that Kirk FP is under Carimed Group, which is pretty giant. So that's interesting. Amid so much controversy, they're just entering a new agreement, and that looks pretty good because they're going to be like a co-packer. So they're going to be packaging the soap, and Kirk FP had so many good things to say about Blue Power in all of these press releases. So again, something interesting to look at that's happening in Jamaica this week. Let us move on. So you see, again, you're not necessarily seeing the price move to something that you would have predicted. You'd probably think it would be sinking low in all of the controversy. It would be going up because of this new release. We don't know, and we have to keep watching it. Now, Seprod, there was a big fire at the Facey plant, and Facey is under Seprod. I snipped these last night, and nobody seems to care, right? It's all, oh, everything's okay. We're not laying off employees. We're going to ramp up production. And Matthew was telling me that we're building another plant anyway. So if you compare this to the Wisinco fire in 2016, was it? That was like a blessing for them. And Dr. Damian King, the econ professor, he was saying that it forced them to expand, renew their technology, and that allowed them to tap into the growth that, you know, their existing plant was hindering them.
I was thinking the same thing, Jason.
Yeah. So let's see if that was happening. My investment advisor was saying the same thing, like, oh yeah, Wisinco, we know how that is. But the price actually fell a little bit over the weekend. So this high here was Friday, and then you see Monday here. So it fell a little, not by a whole lot. But let's watch it. Something interesting to look at. Here's a pick to keep you guys going in the midst of mid-semesters, and we're learning about careers today. So while we keep the dream strong, we have to trudge through and get there. Some international news. So Pfizer Q3 statements, I haven't seen them come out yet. I think the conference call was had, but ever since the talk was that you need a third dose of the Pfizer shot, people were saying, oh, the Q3 statements must be awesome because Pfizer gets to sell so many more vaccines. So it peaked in between August and September, and it's actually been going down. And if you look at like the 1 month, 5 day, and 1 day, well, 1 day as of last night's pictures, it was all in the red going down. So I'm curious to see what happens when Pfizer's stuff come out. Also talking about COVID, many of us were wondering if our AstraZeneca vaccines would be accepted by the US. These are all Canadian sources, so I don't know how credible these are. These are the only 3 I could find, but there's progress on that. And then talking about COVID and travel, tourism, this is relevant to investment because it's relevant to our economy because so much of our GDP comes or came from tourism. Not sure about the latest stats on that. UK lifts the non-essential travel advisory against Jamaica. So this is for UK people to come to Jamaica. And that's great because they're a giant source for our tourists. Finally, about the UK.
Jason?
Oh, yeah?
Oh, could I just jump in about the UK situation? One point, I think around last month, they were saying that AstraZeneca that was administered in Jamaica, it wasn't like valid to like go to the UK, like they wouldn't acknowledge it. But I think the Foreign Affairs Minister actually went in and fixed that issue as well. So Jamaicans can also go over there as well if they want to, in terms of traveling.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that. I found that weird because AstraZeneca is under Oxford, so unless they were discriminating against the Indian-made vaccine, but a lot of the people in the UK were vaccinated with AstraZeneca, so I find that weird, but thanks for that.
So just to add like a little bit of clarity, based on I think a tweet that the acting the head of the UK embassy out there, I forget what you call them.
Commissioner?
They
I think.
seem to have said that it's a mixture of of vaccination rates and a bunch of other things. So it's not necessarily that ours won't ever be accepted.
Okay.
So it's just a bit of a situational thing.
Makes sense. All right, have to wrap up because Simon is waiting, but I'm going to tell you guys, though many things have caused many things to go crazy in UK's economy recently, and there were memes like there's a shortage of gas, truck drivers are scarce, right? And you see Boris Johnson in the Twitter thing right here, that he was going to relax the immigration rules. There were memes, I couldn't find any. You have a boat of immigrants and somebody saying, anybody who can drive a truck, come. So it was crazy. So that's something to look into. And oil prices have been going up big time. As one of the most expensive places to buy electricity per kilowatt hour in the world, this is not really good news for us, but showing you what's happening on the world scene. And that's that. Wish we would take more comments, but I think my time is up. So I'm going to hand over to Malik to introduce our lovely guest.
Okay, guys. Well, we are finally here. So let me introduce the Simon Johnson. So Simon Johnson is the head of alternative investments and structured finance at Barita Investments Limited. Simon has extensive experience in investment, strategy, and policy research. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Banking and Finance with honors and a Master's in Economics, both from the University of West Indies, Mona. He is currently a Level 3 candidate at the Chartered Financial Analyst CFA program and has passed part 1 of 2 of the Financial Risk Manager FRM program. He is passionate about financial literacy and inclusion. Simon is the founder of Stocks on the Rocks, #SOTR or SOTR, an organization dedicated to the provision of free financial literacy tools and mentoring. Stocks on the Rocks, #SOTR, started as a means of creating an open space to have conversations around finance, particularly investments, so that every Jamaican can have the chance to benefit. So with that said, please help me welcome Simon Johnson. Simon?
Welcome, Simon. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys. Houston, I was actually enjoying your news update. It's a news update for me as well, for some of the items. So it's pretty, interesting, in a very good way, to see university students, taking the time out to really pursue and follow certain aspects of the investment market, not just locally, but globally as well. We live in a global context, so it's critical that we understand the society that we live in and the factors that affect it. For today, I told Malik that, I'm not going to be presenting per se a PowerPoint, but I'd love this to be more of a conversation. So as we talk and go through, just be free to unmute and just ask any questions and make any statements that you want to. Okay? All right. So nobody took that cue. So just be free to unmute and make any comment or any questions that you want. So today is about careers. I'll be talking about mine in the financial services industry thus far. Also be talking a bit about the education side of it. A critical part of advancing in the financial services industry is actually upskilling within the industry. Unfortunately, some of our degrees don't prepare us exactly for what we're going to do in the financial industry. So it's critical to combine the knowledge that you get from your degree with world knowledge, just as Jason was talking about a while ago, but with also formal upskilling tools. So one of those things I'll be talking a bit about it later are professional exams. So anyways, let me start. I'm a Calabar old boy. Sorry to everybody else at that offense. Yes, I'm a Calabar old boy. Did my first degree in banking and finance. Honestly, the reason I did the master's in econ was all of my friends were doing a master's, and the university pays for it if you agree to tutor and if you're chosen to tutor. So it was low cost, you know. So just study 2 more years, have a master's degree, and get additional qualifications. So I mean, my friends and I would have looked coming out of the banking and finance degree and said, boy, we have a couple of hundred of us graduating from banking and finance, and a couple hundred more in econ, accounting, etc., who we will naturally compete in the job market with. We also have a couple of hundred from UTech, NCU, UCC that are in similar business areas. We have to find ways to improve upon ourselves. So the MSc in econ program was there. We liked econ, we got through, and we decided to do it. While we're doing econ though, take the econ aside, in the last semester, we started to ask ourselves, actually before the last semester, we started to ask ourselves the same thing. We're saying, look, we're doing a master's in econ, but we don't really know any real world econ, because it's really, I mean, for anybody that does an econ degree, and you can chime in here, from when I was at UE, which was just a few years ago, it's really theoretical knowledge, and not every lecturer links that to real life econ. And when, as an economist, even in the financial services industry, when you're going into an interview, they're not just going to ask you book knowledge. They want to ensure that you can solve problems. Yes, so Dr. King's principles class were very good for that, because it introduces you from the very first year, the first semester, to applying economics to real world scenarios. So I mean, what we did in the master's program then is that we started to meet in a group similar to this, and we just started to discuss articles, journal articles, and how they applied in real life. So we just had, it wasn't a formal club or anything. Somebody like Jason was responsible for coming and talking about, you know, what happened in the news, from an econ perspective. We all read the articles and we came and we discussed it. And this was private, by the way. So, I mean, anybody was invited, but we didn't tell the lecturers or anybody about it. And I mean, it really worked. And the most important part of that is that we started to prepare ourselves for the work world, meaning we started to do panel interviews of each other. So we started with resumes, and said, okay, how are we going to, we can't go into the world with these resumes looking like this. How should a resume look? What should be in a resume? And we, you know, fixed our resumes together along with online resources. We got interview questions online. I mean, there are many sources. You literally just need to Google it, interview questions. And we started to ask each other the questions, and we immediately picked up on all of our challenges. So we would have a panel, a rolling panel. So I think there was like 7 of us. So each person that's being interviewed had 6 other people interviewing them. And the panel would say, okay, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your long-term goals? What are your short-term goals? As it pertains to the Jamaican economy, do you agree with the BOJ's decision to shift to inflation targeting, and why? And we started to work on that. Of course, after the interview, we would discuss the points. So it actually worked really well, because when the guys eventually started to get real interviews from the BOJ, from the the DBJ, and from private sector firms, they were very prepared for that. We were aware of what was happening in the oil and gas market. So with oil prices, we were aware of what was happening with fiscal policy. And when I say fiscal policy, I was talking about the Ministry of Finance, monetary policy, that's the Bank of Jamaica. So we were also always aware of that. So I said that to say it's important at whatever stage you are to prepare yourself outside of what the university is just presenting to you. So yeah, we were on our A game, yes. Outside of just studying, we didn't want to leave UWI and not have a job. It was fair. I'm going to be honest. We didn't want to leave UWI and not have a job and to be sitting home. With me, I remember in my last semester, and I think Professor Tennant was the one that was in the office, and we're saying, boy, how we're gonna apply? We don't have no links. And he was saying, well, I recommend you start downtown and make your way uptown. So start apply from downtown and make your way uptown. I took this literally. So I edited all my resumes. And when I say all my resumes, I learned that it's important to craft your resume based on the company that you're applying to. Or somebody had a question? Oh, I learned that it's important to craft your resume based on the company or the post that you're applying to. So because these were unsolicited, and I had resumes for, well, the first one being at the end of Harbor Street. What that I was interested in is the stock exchange, then GK Capital, then BOJ, Scotiabank, you know, just making your way up Harbor Street and then turn go uptown. When I dropped off the resume at the stock exchange, dropped it off at GK. I think by the time I reached Scotia, I was like, boy, I have something to do. So me come back tomorrow. Anyway, oh yeah, man, some real salesmanship. Anyways, I got, was it a call or an email? I got contacted by Stock Exchange the next day, actually. They were saying, boy, Simon, we see you have a master's. However, we need somebody right away. We need somebody to fill like a temporary position for a few months. And I'm like, well, it's a stock exchange, of course. So I went to the stock exchange. Boy, them not really, at that level, them not really pay well. And because I just finished a master's in econ, I guess most people would have preferred to take the route at BOJ because they would have paid better at that time. That's the Bank of Jamaica. But I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to do from before then. So my thing is that I did not want to do economics. I can do it. I don't like accounting. I want to do finance and investments. So the most important thing for me was to get a foot into the industry, even if that meant not being paid what I thought I should be paid immediately. Let me just, somebody's asking a question. Matthew, do you think the master's program specifically gave you a leg up when looking for a job? I can't say no. Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think because in the master's program, I did financial economics, which is just an introduction to finance, but from a mathematical perspective. So it was a lot of maths and models, but that did help with my knowledge first in valuing equity, even though I never know what to do with the models, right? I think the master's also signifies to some employers that you're more mature, you've gotten to the stage where you're probably a bit more trainable. So more people would probably look at that and say, okay, I'll try this person. And the master's in econ is a technical degree. So if you're going into a technical field like investments, then it makes sense. Jordan is asking, would you advise someone to prioritize a master's degree or CFA For my industry, honestly, my industry, if you're going into the investment side of the industry, is not necessarily master's degree focused, meaning that you will get, and this is just my opinion, you can get a lot more from one of the professional designations, particularly the CFA, than, for example, doing a master's in econ. I can talk about my master's. The CFA, just level 1 alone, prepares you to be an analyst with some of the base that you need, while the master's maybe more theoretical than practical. The CFA has theory, but the theory is based on you doing that work on the job. So that's me. Matter of fact, and just to be honest with you, when I started studying for the CFA level 1 immediately after the masters, I felt like I wasted the 2 years in the masters, to be honest, because I knew what I wanted to do, which I found out in the master's program. So it can be argued that I wouldn't have known what I wanted to do if I never do it. But the amount of information that I was getting about something that I actually wanted to do, I felt like I could have been 2 years ahead if I had just known and pursued it from a first degree. However, I must mention that the CFA is a rigorous exam, meaning that it's not just about the knowledge. I and others liken the CFA knowledge to similar to doing all of your first year courses at once. So you have econ, you have a little history about investments in it, you have ethics, you have financial reporting, which is accounts, you have fixed income, equity, derivatives, and you put all of these things together into one exam. So the information isn't seriously challenging. What is challenging is getting all of that information, understanding it, and then being able to perform on one single day, right? And trust me, there's a lot of anxiety there, because you know that this is the exam that there's no, so when you go into you have a series of exams. Matter of fact, it's more than likely you'll have a midterm exam and then have a final exam, right? But what I'll say is that there are ways to take the exam, or to study for the exam, sorry. So I did self-study, meaning that you get up every day and study. I think one of the things that benefited me with that is that when I was doing the master's degree, because of how rigorous that was as well, I was already studying 8, 10, 15 hours a day. So even the CFA required me when working it's tougher when working to wake up, go to work, come back, and study for the rest of the evening. I was kind of already used to that. So I can say the master's program would have prepared me for that. What I've realized is that for some people, when they leave the first degree, they're used to being in that classroom setting. So it takes a while to get up to that point where you say, wait, oh, I may have to wake up myself. And I may have to go study myself, and I have to set all of these limits myself, and I have to do, all of this myself. But there are programs, BMB University does one doing Barrett, where they have a structured system. I'm sure some of you guys have probably talked to Dwayne already. Yes, remember?
Yeah.
Yes,
Dwayne actually came to a meeting last semester.
Good.
Yeah.
He was the one that introduced CFA to me when I was in third year. He's the first person I heard about it from, and I know that he does outreach very well, so very likely. So they do structured classes every week. So you actually go somewhere. I don't think it's not physical anymore. It's more than likely online. For me, I realized that because I already had that somewhat of some form of discipline from the master's program, it was a bit easier for me to spend a couple hours every single day studying. Oh, I'm just gonna answer 2 more questions and then move on. Oh, would you, okay, I think only 25. Yeah, the pass rate for CFA is, CFA level 1 is relatively low. And, but I don't think you should be discouraged, and let me tell you why. The CFA exam is pretty rigorous, and a lot of the people that do level 1 in particular, they figure out how rigorous the exam is on the day of the exam, after the exam, right? So I'm gonna tell you, I know people personally that took the exam lightly. You know, like you're doing another finance course at UTech, and when they're going to the exams, they say, wait, where them questionnaire come from? Because when I was doing level 1, it was, I think it was 120 questions for there's a morning part and there's an evening part. For level 1, you do 120, then you do 120 after. And may I tell you, some of the questions come from some corner of the book where, like, you have to have a grasp of the knowledge. It's not enough to just memorize, and you know, maybe some people can do that. Would you be concerned about the level 1 pass rates being in the 20%, as if you were starting now? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna tell you why. I was one of those people at UA that would take a course because I wanted to learn more. Guys, trust me, it messed me up. Because in 3rd year, I took a course where I really never had to take that course. It was an elective. And my friend and I decided that we wanted to learn about that particular thing. And boy, I pick up a fat C. I am lucky that I passed that. And because of that course, I missed the 1st class honors. So yeah, man, that course will teach me a lesson. But so I can confidently say that if I decided that I wanted to do the CFA and I had an objective to be in the industry and I realized the value that it had, then I would still do it.
Simon, just to follow up on what you were saying, the reason why I asked that question is because the pass rate used to be in the 40s for level 1, and then since early to mid this year, just plummeted, and month after month after month, sitting after sitting, it came out. So that's why I'm asking, do you think that though, for persons going into the industry looking to get that credential, do you think that it's worthwhile, or it's more like it's reached its plateau and, you know?
I can honestly say I don't know what are some of the reasons feeding into the level 1 score. Maybe some COVID fatigue for L1s. I really don't know, because they don't publish the minimum pass rate. So, but as I said, I really wanted to be in finance and investments. So I personally would have still done it. And matter of fact, the FRM, which I'm also doing, the financial manager, I've heard more scare stories of the FRM than the CFA. I mean, one of the smartest people I know, he said, look, him do it, I never know what one of the exam. And the FRM, from an exam perspective, is more rigorous. Not necessarily the information, but the specific exam itself, how it is structured, is rigorous. And oh, Jason, yes, Jason, it's a lot more math, meaning risk-specific math, right? So I personally think, and I've done FRM part 1, and it's still the hardest exam that I've done. Because I mean, I started that exam, I had a strategy because time is very important in these exams. I said, okay, if I read something and the first read it makes sense, I'm gonna skip it. And I was skipping questions up to number 20. And then I said, you know what? All right, let me start from the back. right? Because I remain very cool in exams, right? If it was somebody else, I would have been very. So I skipped the exam and I think FRM has 100. I skipped the exam and I started at 100. And realized I skip again, go back to about 85. And he's like, hold on. But this doesn't make sense. So you say, you know what? Strategy. I'm good in math. So I'm gonna do the questions that require a formula. I can recite, I know the formulas. So I'm gonna pick out the questions that I know. Oh, I can use that formula for this. And I'm gonna do that just to build some confidence and then come back. And boy, trust me. Yeah, man, Malik, you're correct. So CFA has stats as statistics as well, you know. But FRM statistics is more geared towards risk. So I would say there's probably a bit more statistics in FRM, and I'm not great in statistics. I have to admit, I'm good in math. So yeah, I was at the part, you know, and I was saying I was studying for level 1, and I'm sure somebody will ask about balance. When I just started, so I was at the stock exchange. I was at the stock exchange temporarily. So while I was there, I was opening accounts. So if you've ever opened an investment account, when you send your application to the broker and the broker does the initial side, they send something to the stock exchange. So I was the person around the decks collecting that information every day. It was literally a paper cut job. Just collecting information every day and just opening accounts. So I was already looking for something because I wanted an analyst role. I saw the SSL, that's on Hope Road, publish a position for an analyst, and I also saw Proven publish a position for an analyst. Just a heads up, when you're interviewing to be an analyst in the industry, most times they're going to ask you to do something, meaning that they're going to ask you to analyze a stock. So those things that Jason is talking about, talked about in his news update, they're going to ask you some of those things, and you're going to actually have to value a company. It's likely, or look at bonds, etc. When I got the analysis from SSL, I think the analysis was, I got it about Friday, and the analysis was to do a report on Apple and a report on a bond. I don't remember the bond. No, note that I've never done a report in my life. Matter of fact, at that point, even though I was talking about investments a lot, I had actually just opened my account when I started working. So I wasn't getting any broker reports on research either. So boy, that was a tough weekend because the presentation was Monday. Oh, you have to do an analysis and you have to come and present it to a panel. So it's working on those soft skills. So it's more than, it's important to not just have the hard skills, the ability to do the maths, to assess and say, okay, SVL is doing this because of this, and we can do this. It's also important that you can communicate that to management, or communicate it to your clients so that they can make the correct decision.
Simon?
Yeah.
That actually kind of reminds me of a course I did a year ago. It's called Financial Management 1, and we kind of had to like do some kind of analysis, but I can imagine that's like much deeper than what we had to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I did Finman. When I left the first degree, I actually said Finman was one of the only courses that really looked the most at investments from a practical perspective. I think there's Finman 1 and Finman 2. And I think you guys have a financial statement course now, a financial statement analysis, or
no, we have risk and treasury, I think, in the banking and finance degree. I'm not, but we haven't done it. Well, I haven't done it as yet. But
I think accounting has a course called financial statement analysis.
I think that's it, because I did risk and treasury, and risk and treasury is still.
And there's also investment
somebody
analysis,
said investing and analysis. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's somebody had showed me an assessment that they had, and I was like, wow, you guys are doing this in your first degree. This is very good. They say it's very important to be able to do these things, because that's exactly what we are going to ask you to do when you come for an interview. And it depends, because if you are looking for a role as a senior analyst or a role as a junior analyst meaning you're fresh out of college, usually it's either your first or your second job, we're going to ask you to do an analysis. Now, how we judge the assessment is different, because the junior analyst, naturally, you will be a bit more lenient. The senior analyst, you should know some of these things. So there's going to be a bit more pressure. So I got the job at SSL, but I also got the job at, well, I didn't get the job at Proven, but Proven called me back the day when they sent the letter and said, boy, Simon, we really like the presentation there and the analysis. The only challenge was your experience. So we chose somebody that had a little more experience over you. But I mean, once something opens up, we'll definitely call you back. So I was at SSL for 3 months, and then Proven called me back and said, Simon, we have an investment analyst position for you. And I couldn't let that one go at all. I couldn't let it go. So, so I left the UE about June, and this was by September, October, I was at Proven as an investment analyst. As an investment analyst, you get a lot of on-the-job training. So this is generally in the department where we call research. Some places call it research and investment strategy. There's a lot of on-the-job training. I think most of it is going to be on-the-job training, because there's only so much the book can teach you. At the end of the day, a part of investing comes down to subjectivity and your exposure to the types of investments that you're looking at, right? So I worked at Proven for a year, I passed level 1, and I saw a position at JN Fund Managers, which was down the road, for assistant manager of research. Now look, I've been in the industry for call it a year and 3 months. I just started being an analyst, but I said, look, can't hurt to apply for an assistant manager position. It's like if they say yes, then I get an interview and I get experience. If they say no, well, it's okay. So I applied, and they invited me to interview, and boy, the thing with me is that when I'm given the chance, I'm going to knock it out the park. Meaning that if the Minister of Finance says, Simon, we want you to be the governor of the Bank of Jamaica, and we want you to do a presentation on it, and I'm presenting alongside Dr. King, I am not going to go in there saying, oh, it's Dr. King. He might go tear me apart. I'm going to go in there with a presentation that I think could beat Dr. King. That's how I operate. So when I was doing preparing for the interview for Jane, I really went all out. The analysis I remember was on, boy, no, I don't remember, Yes, I did. They had just listed a company. I think it's SOS. It is SOS. And I believe that asked me for some other portfolio management type, because the position also included investment strategy. So that's more than choosing the investment. It's deciding the right investment for this particular portfolio, right? So I did that interview. I really went all out, and I got it. So after that 1 year in the industry, I moved to assistant manager of research at JN. That was very good. We built out the research department at JN. Of course, we all learned and did well. I see a comment here from Jordan. Interview shopping is always useful, even when you don't feel equipped, just getting the questions. Yeah, man, that practice is important. So I would say, Malik, for your third years, the guys that are graduating, it's always good that in that last semester to have initiatives that prepare them for when they're leaving. because sometimes, I mean, well, I do interviews now, and we'll do an interview for an analyst. And trust me, you don't know how prepared the other person is. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people that want to be analysts. I remember we had a position open for an analyst at JN, and over 100 people applied for that position as an investment analyst. So there's a lot of competition there. I would say just always do your best. Always do your best. Do your own research, and don't be afraid to be wrong. Remember, they saw your resume. They know that more than likely you're probably fresh out of school. So it's fine to say, boy, that's something that I didn't know, and I appreciate you showing that to me now. So I moved on from JN to JMMB so that's my first role in investment banking. Now the investment banking side of the industry effectively raises capital for businesses, either through equity or debt. Now, I always say that research is one of the best, is probably the best place to prepare to go into investment banking. Because when you go into investment banking, it becomes more than, oh, should I buy SVL or should I sell SVL, and when should I do that? It becomes, okay, how can I advise SVL to raise funding? Should they raise funding through equity, or should they raise funding through debt? And that requires an analysis of their balance sheet and their future prospects. So JMMB's capital markets unit, or investment banking unit, is one of the largest in the country. So I really learned a lot there. We structured, and when I say structure just means create. You can think of it as create. Because when somebody says, so the work that you see for an IPO or an APO is really just the back end of the transaction. Meaning that to structure and bring a company to market can take months to years. So let's say, Jason, how you pronounce your last name? DeCambre? DeCambre?
We can run with that. Officially DeCambre, but we tell everybody DeCambre in Jamaica.
All right, let's go with Jason.
Yeah.
So Jason has a company called Jason Limited, right? And he wants to list on the exchange. He comes to you as an investment banker. Let's say Jason fixes computers. All Jason really knows how to do is fix computers. He's very good at it, which is why his business is making $1 billion in sales a year and about $30–40 million in profits. He comes to you as the investment banker and say, look, Simon, I want to buy Royal Computers, or I want to buy another competitor, or I want to grow more because I realize that there is a need for people like me on the western end of Jamaica. It is your job as the investment banker to best advise Jason of how much he can raise, the value of his company, whether you would recommend debt, some debt input into the mix, and when to do it. Because a lot of people don't realize that capital raises typically come around when what we call liquidity is in the market. So if there is a huge liquidity event, meaning that the government of Jamaica has a bond that is maturing, let's say in December, and that bond is for 50 billion Jamaican dollars. And the government says that we're not going to refinance it. So they're going to let that money go into the economy. Investors will need a home for that $50 billion. So you come to Jason in March, Jason will say, well, Jason comes to you in March. You will say to Jason, all right, Jason, so we can do the listing in December at this event. I think your company is valued at $2 billion. You have to list a minimum of 20% of the company. So as a $200 million raise, you can go on the junior market But these are the things that you need to do. You need to take your girlfriend off the board because she unless she's adding real value, Jason, to the board, you need to replace her on the board. You need to put these, you need to get experience in accounting, law, another technical person, and some independent directors on your board to prepare for the market. Jason, you can't track your financials in Excel alone and your bank account. It's all over the place. You need to get an auditor to come in and to do an audit of all of your last 5 years of financials and to do management numbers. And we need to start working on the prospectus. So you guys may be familiar with the prospectus. The prospectus is really the legal document that states that this is what the company is, this is what they're planning to do with this amount of money, and this is some more information about the company and its historical financials. And that's really what it is. So we need to start preparing that from now so that we can apply it to the FSC for no objection in X amount of time. So it's really a very involved process because let's say Jason's girlfriend decide that she don't want to come off of the board and she wants to be an instrumental part of the business, or Jason and his girlfriend break up and she's saying that I own 40% of the company, so I have a choice in this, so you can't do this. So we have to fix all of the back-end issues. Also, another big thing is that Jason, because Jason is a successful technician, he bought an M4, but he made the company buy the M4. So the company is paying for the M4 for the monthly payment. Now, when Jason lists the company, nobody is going to want to pay Jason's M4 bill. So what we'll have to do is take the M4 expense, take the Norbrook apartment expense, take his girlfriend's apartment expense off the business's books and just give that to them, you know? So that's some of the cleaning up that we have to do in the company before it lists. There's a lot of things to do. And a bond transaction is similar, though less rigorous. So yeah, that's investment banking. No, what I do is not necessarily investment banking at Barita. It's really in alternative investments and structured finance, which is an even smaller niche. So alternative investments are really just assets that are not traditional. So traditional assets are your stocks, your bonds, right? Alternative investments, public bonds, public stocks, fall outside of that. So we're talking about private equity, private credit, hedge funds, etc., and structured notes. And structured notes are really just a lot big word, securitized instruments or instruments that get their value from another instrument, right? So let's say Jason Limited is not listed and he wants a loan, but the bank won't give him because his cash flow comes in every 3.5 months. If he comes to me and says, Simon, I want to structure something, or remember we said structure means create. I want to create something that's specific to me. I can create a bond for him that specifically fits his needs while providing a return for the investors that are providing the capital. So I'll just open the floor. I've been talking for a long stretch. For any questions that you guys may have.
I actually have a question, and I know you might not be able to answer this, but a lot of the off-balance sheet stuff that we see Barita doing now, like the Barita Finance and the MJE Holdings, that would be stuff that you do?
So that is a part of structured finance, yeah.
Okay.
So Simon, on your career path, my question is regarding the compensation in Jamaica versus abroad. Have you ever considered taking your career abroad? Are you happy with your compensation in Jamaica? Do you think it's a fair trade-off for the amount of work that you put in What would you say in terms of that?
Yeah, so and I guess you have to look at the relative compensation if we're comparing abroad locally. Depending on where you are, the relative compensation might very well be more. I want to mean my relative. I'm just saying if you are an analyst working on Wall Street, you might very well, or in, let's say you're in Manhattan, the center of Manhattan, you might very well be getting 120,000 US, but your cost of living is more versus the analyst that works in Broward County, Florida, right? Who gets less, but their cost of living is relatively less. For Jamaica, I find that the compensation for analysts have increased over time. And that is mainly because the financial industry in Jamaica is expanding so much. And the pool of good talent is not growing significantly along with the size of the industry. So you'll find that companies are willing to pay a little bit more for that person that has experience. For me, I'm not complaining. No, God is good. But I mean, because of the audience, it would probably be best to speak about salaries for junior analysts. For the typical junior analyst, no, boy, and this is really dependent on the company and the size of the company as well. A junior analyst, meaning somebody that is just coming out of school, can probably look to make, this is all in for the year, from about 2 million upwards. That would not include possible bonuses that companies may pay when they do very well for a quarter or for a period. So it can really move from 2 million up. There are places that pay analysts twice that amount. No.
Can I follow up to that?
Sure.
So if I understand what you said correctly, finance industry is growing, the talent isn't growing as fast as that. So analysts tend to make nice salaries for an entry level when you compare it to other industries in Jamaica, right?
Well, I cannot compare it to other industries because I'm really not sure about other industries. But just to clarify, I can say, even though there might be a larger pool of people that want to be analysts, I realize I use the word specifically quality analysts. Quality meaning not just the passion that the person brings, but experience and drive as well. And I mentioned passion and drive because in my experience, I've found analysts that are driven to be easier to train, and they come up that curve a lot faster than an analyst that may have more experience but less passion and drive. So I can say that even now, currently, there are quite a few firms in the industry that are looking for talent, but that talent is really at the senior analyst to manager level. So you realize that the industry doesn't have much junior analyst posts. So you have a lot of people that are competing for very, very few posts. I want to give you, Malik, I want to give you an exclusive. So Barita is a part of the Cornerstone Group, and pretty soon we will be officially announcing a Cornerstone Analyst Program, which will be targeted at particularly junior analysts. Junior analysts would have the ability to come into the group and train from managers straight to the executives up in Cornerstone to learn from different departments in research, investment banking at what I would say is a very competitive salary.
Oh, wow.
Yes, at a very competitive salary. over a period of time. So that announcement will be coming soon. I got permission to just mention it here. So for the analysts that are graduating, or for the young analysts that are here, then you can look out for that.
Okay, wow, nice.
And then to follow up on that point, a lot of us in here are, of course, interested in investing and perhaps a career path to become an analyst or something in the financial industry. So, based on your experience and what you have seen in the industry, interviewing people and stuff, what advice would you give us to stand out? You know, persons freshly graduating with our undergrad degrees, what advice would you say we should take to stand out in that pool that is very competitive?
All right, so I'll just give you some of my tips, the things that I use. As I said, I don't know who I'm going up against, so I will not sleep for a couple of days to ensure that I have the best presentation that I can produce. So what I will do is, if I know who is going to be in the interview, I will do research on those persons. So if Jason is going to be in my interview and Jason is a Manchester United fan, I know that Jason wants to hear about football. So if I'm going to use an analogy in the interview, I'm going to talk about football. Jason is more likely to listen. So that's one thing. When it comes on to the information, if I don't know something, I'm going to touch as many bases as possible to ensure that I understand what I'm being asked before I step into the room. I'll do research on the company, the history of the company, the financials of the company, and I also ask my friends to do mock interviews. So I'll get a serious friend, a serious one, somebody that can put some pressure on you, just to do a one-on-one mock interview, and I'll ask for a panel interview as well, just to prepare me for the questions that might come. And I'll just ask them to throw out very hard questions. And for things that I don't know, I'll write it down. So what I also do is, LinkedIn is very important, guys. A lot of the people that I've met now, I've met them before on LinkedIn. So I would say update your LinkedIn, update what you've done, the progress that you've made career-wise, even if you're still in college, because all of the things that you're doing now with Young Investor Club, etc., it applies. So get your LinkedIn up, put up your professional picture. If you want to, and connect with as many people in the industry or the particular sector that you want. So those people, they can see your name. So you connect with your Stephen Gooden, you connect with your Kevin Donaldson, your Paul Simpson, Ramon, etc. And don't be afraid to strike up a conversation. I mean, the least they can do is not answer you. I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I can't even answer all the messages, to be honest, and say, hey, Simon, came across your profile, rate what you do, and I just wanted some advice as it pertains to this. So you'd be surprised how open some of these guys and ladies are to discussing their careers and to giving you tips. So as I said, I sharpened up on my information about interviews generally, the information that is necessary for the interview, the company itself, the people that are going into the interview. And if I am asked to do a Word document and send that off, I'm going to do a proper Word document, meaning that all of my fonts are going to be aligned. Because remember, these persons have not spoken to you as yet. So you have to, any correspondence that you're having with them has to be representative of the quality of work that you will bring. So I'm going to do my headings properly. Matter of fact, I might even throw in some colors. I'm going to make sure that my document is justified. I'm going to do as much research as possible. I might even just ask people to read it, see if they see any errors, just point them out to me so I can go back to the drawing board. If I'm asked to do a presentation, which you're usually asked to do, I am going to do a killer presentation, meaning that I'm going to take the Word document and put it in a presentation format. Let's say I know nothing about portfolio management, but they ask me a portfolio management question. I am still going to go ahead and Google what is portfolio management. That's the first thing. And then start my Google search from there. How is it done? And then for the tips that I understand, I'll include in the presentation. And if I hit a roadblock, I won't be afraid to say in the interview that, you know, I did my research. This is what I learned. I am recommending a 60-40 portfolio, etc., etc. But, you know, I kind of hit a roadblock here, and this is what I have. So that's for me. I would say just go 120%, because you'd be surprised that you can be fresh out of UE, but because of the amount of work, because when you do work, you know, people can see it. The amount of work that you've put into a presentation, that you've put into your analysis, and how you represent yourself in the interview, you can get the job over somebody that has years of experience ahead of you, right? And that has links. Oh, somebody asked
so much,
Jason.
Simon. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah, are you able to speak to the value of an entry-level analyst having an FFMVA? I would say those courses always seem to be value added. I know a few people that have done the FMVA. So the thing is that, so financial modeling, it's financial modeling and valuation, right, Jason? So financial modeling and valuation is actually a core part of what an analyst does. You have to know how to manipulate Excel sheets. It's something that you're going to do with, you're going to do it almost daily. So it's very important to know how to input information in your Excel sheet, how to manipulate it so that you can do your ratios in the Excel sheet and you can do your valuation models there. My understanding is that the FMVA certification gives you a very detailed exposure to existing, so they create Excel models for you and they walk you through it line by line. So the guys that I've spoken to, they've said that the FMVA has helped them in their ability to project numbers. Because as some of you may know, when you're an investment analyst, it's not just about the analysis of the past, but people want to know how to make decisions going into the future. So you have to project, what will Seprod do next year? How will the fire affect Seprod? What is their valuation based on the fire? What will they do the year after that? So you have to be able to incorporate those things and project income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. And the FMVA does well for that. So that is value added for sure.
All right, thanks for that. Because I was told by so many persons in the industry when I said I wanted to do CFA level 1, I didn't ask them anything about FMVA, and they were like, you might want to do this first because the work that you'd get at entry level, it's so relevant to that, and then the CFA fills in the theoretical gap. So that's what they were saying, and I just wanted to hear your opinion.
Yeah, man. It's cool. I might end up doing it when I have some time as well. Oh, if you have access to Bloomberg at UE, Bloomberg has a course. Can't remember the
Bloomberg Market Concepts.
Yes, Bloomberg Market Concepts.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about you money. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm doing it now for a course. It's a part of my course outline. I'm getting graded for it.
Oh,
but they don't. So UE has Bloomberg access, but they don't give it to everyone. It's only for a specific course. Or I know that investment analysis, they allow you to use Bloomberg, but they don't give us terminal access. They only give us access for the course.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that access to the terminal, please use it up. If you have
they're not. I think the terminal is only for master students, so they won't allow you to. They won't approve you to actually go on the terminal.
Unless you pay, because I
Mm.
spoke to the person who admins it, and then they have one package for the terminal access and one package to pay for the access that Hallie has just because she's doing that course. So we don't have access,
Okay.
sadly.
Okay. Well, I can just tell you, the young lady that is doing it now, that it's very important to understand how to use the Bloomberg, because Bloomberg is an extremely powerful data tool, data analytical tool. If you can use that well, you can do a lot of things. Like, for example, when I just started Proven, I created a financial index and a manufacturing and distribution index using Bloomberg, and started to track that from then. That was long before Sagicor Select, and started to track the performance of that. A lot of things that you do in Excel, you can actually integrate Bloomberg into Excel, and it's very powerful, and it gives you information about the global market space.
Simon, I think there's actually a free course on like what, CFI? Is it CFI that teaches you, I think, how to like use the Bloomberg terminal and stuff like that? I think, Hallie, have you seen that course before on CFI?
No,
I
I
think
haven't
there's a
seen it.
free course on there, but I didn't do it though.
The BMC teaches you how to use it. So it shows us all information and how to access information. And there's a lot of information. I can agree with that. A lot of different statistics that you can look at. But we can't actually go in the terminal and practice it. So it's something that teaches us, but we can't do it for ourselves and actually get that information off of the terminal. But it's actually insane how much information and how they present the information, how much you can compare different types of information. This is really good.
Yeah, man. Abroad, a lot of brokers use the Bloomberg exclusively to trade, to do their analysis, to do their modeling, to do their back testing, everything. If you watch Billions, you'll see Bloomberg. Any more questions? I'm sure people have questions, you know.
Well, I mean, you've spoken about CFA, FMVA, and FRM. Is there any other certification or professional designation that you can speak towards?
Yeah, there are a few. I don't think I can speak to them, but I know of them. So I know there's a CFP, a certified financial planner.
Financial planner, yeah.
Yeah, that's like if you want to become an advisor, instead of doing the CFA, which goes straight up to portfolio management, the certified financial planner gives you enough information to do that job well. I know there is a CAIA, a certified alternative investments analyst, which focuses specifically on alternative investments. Matter of fact, how that is now, because it has a link with the CFA. If you are a CFA charter holder, you get to skip the first exam for CAIA. So you just move directly to the final exam. So that's the CAIA, the CFA, FRM, CFP, FMVA. I suspect, I know that CFI has a few specific, can you call them courses, that focus on like financial statements and valuation and things like that as well.
Yeah, they have some very small, I guess, short courses that focus on like specific areas. And I believe before you do the FMVA, or I guess a part of it, you have to do those courses.
Yeah. Oh, so Jason, so how applicable is data science analytics to investment research based on how it's done in Jamaica? It's becoming more important. So that's a part of the industry that I'm actually very interested in. Just the part that looks at raw data and is able to pull information from it to make investment decisions. It's becoming more important, and there are more and more people that are exposing themselves to the data science part of the industry. I would say the data science part of the industry may give you an edge because you can develop the analytical skills and the technical skills that are needed. Because where the industry is going, and I usually say it's not very hard to see where it's going, because you can look at more developed markets and say, hey, that's what we want to do. When we will eventually get to the point where we're creating traded derivatives. I mean, we already do derivative type products, but they're all private. In that way, we structure them and sell them to clients or investors privately. There will be a time where Jamaica is shorting securities. Shorting securities really just means benefiting from the price of the security going down. Eventually, we will have some form of options. And I know these things may be way out, but I'm just saying where the industry is likely to go. And because Jamaica's financial market is probably, if not the largest or more advanced financial market in the Caribbean, in the English-speaking Caribbean, we will likely become the base for a lot of activities, similar to how the Chicago Exchange, Commodities Exchange is the base of commodities trading, and the New York Stock Exchange, to some extent, is the base of stock trading, etc. So I think that that's where we're going, and data science is going to become very important.
So do you think the JSE is going to move into being a sort of regional market with, like we see GHL got cross-listed the other day?
Yeah, man.
And I know Barita is going to be cross-listed Massey at the start of next year or around then.
Yeah, man. I completely see getting there. I was actually going to mention when you said regional that we actually have already started. So the Bayesian and Trinidadian markets, and I think Guyana has a market, but they don't trade often at all. The volumes that they do in those markets in a week or a month can easily be done in Jamaica in a day, or maybe even an hour, right? The Jamaican market is actually pretty advanced when it comes to the amount of people that are trading, or what we call the depth of the market. And it's only going to get better, as we've seen, right? So I think that more companies will start to cross-list in Jamaica. I think Guardian relisting Massey, which we will be doing early next year, which is actually going to be in the top 3 largest companies on the stock exchange immediately when they list, will definitely set a pace for other companies in Barbados and Trinidad.
I think it's safe to say that I think the JSE is the biggest stock market, I think, in the entire Caribbean. I don't think there is any other country. I think Trinidad is right behind us, at least in the Caribbean, maybe not Latin America and the Caribbean. But in terms of like cross-listing as well, I heard that a lot of companies want to cross-list because we have a floated exchange rate where it's not really fixed. So they need like more Forex, like foreign exchange, like, so they're crossing over to Jamaica's market as well, because Barbados and I think Trinidad might have like more of a fixed regime.
Trinidad and Barbados. Well, Barbados is fixed. Trinidad is managed, so it is heavily managed. It's much harder to get US dollars in Trinidad. Much harder.
Yeah.
So it is an incentive for a lot of companies. A lot of people don't appreciate how easy it is. Boy, easy is relative. How much easier it is to get and raise capital. I mean, First Rock is a new company. They were able to come to market and raise additional funding. We saw iCreate, which is a small company. We're seeing Edifocal that's coming now. And I am positive that if COVID didn't come around, we would have seen a lot more listings on the market.
Yeah.
Matthew had his hand up.
Not to switch gears too much, but like me, I'm an engineering student, so I don't have like that much like in-depth knowledge about economics and that type of thing. But I just wanted to know, like, what have you learned from working in the finance space that you've been able to like apply into your personal finances? I just want to know if there are any like tips you could give to me as like a more general investor.
Yeah, man, no problem. So firstly, you know, the engineering and the physics guys pretty much dominate the market a lot in the US. So you guys have an advantage with the maths part and the data analytics. From a broader perspective, so when I was an analyst, I focused on public equity. No, I am not in the equity market. I'm in the private space. So the private equity. What I would say is that it really helped me to look at my investments, to look at my investments more from a portfolio perspective, meaning that so I personally I'm not a trader. I would probably say that I'm a fundamental investor. So I have a portfolio that I will trade. So that's what I call the risky money, right? Meaning that if it's $50,000, that's $50,000 that I'm willing to lose tomorrow, right? And then my portfolio, main part of my portfolio, which mostly has stocks that I'm looking at for over 1 year, right? And that I tend to look at periodically. What I've learned, you know, is to look at finance overall as being holistic. So it's not just about investments, and this comes back to stocks on the rocks and the reason why we started to build financial literacy in Jamaica. I find that we underestimate the impact of insurance and saving. I usually say saving / money management on your overall financial goals. Insurance protects your assets. There are a lot of people that are wealthy, that built their investment portfolios, and I'm telling you, they get sick. God forbid cancer, a serious case of diabetes, and it wipes out their assets. And trust me, when I say wipe out, it's not hard. Meaning cancer treatments can be millions of dollars every treatment, and you get treatments regularly, right? So what insurance helps to do is it helps to protect that asset that you have. And money management, if you're not a good, yes, health is well. If you're not a good money manager, it's going to be difficult for you to build the capital needed over time to be a successful investor. So you can't be making your money investing and then you convert your gains and you and Malik go through every Friday and drink out the gains, you know. So that's how I've learned to look at it, just to supplement and to have my pensions and everything set up.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, and yeah, and I guess the final thing, Jason said health is wealth. Look, guys, never underestimate how important it is to focus on your mental and physical health. You can spend a lot of time achieving all you want in investing. And then, as I said, your health, physical, can get worse, but your mental health can really deteriorate and affect your quality of life. So it's people don't make these linkages all the time. There is a link to you being a successful, having sustainable wealth and having good physical and mental health.
If I may comment, Simon, just quickly, there's this guy named Robert Breedlove. He's one of the leading podcasters about Bitcoin. And he tweeted that, well, he talks about time preference because Bitcoin is supposedly immune to inflation. So you're a lot less focused on the present trying to spend while it has. So he was saying time preference applies to other areas of life. And one of the easiest indicators is someone's physical fitness. It's about their time preference. So just like investing, you give up a little now for the future. It's the same thing with health. And I think that attitude toward, okay, be long-term oriented just helps us in so many ways in life.
Yeah, very important. Victoria, you had another question?
Yes, Simon, on the point of financial literacy, I wanted to ask you, what how do you manage as an analyst when you do your research, you project and have expectations of whichever instrument to go a certain way, and then it doesn't go that way? Because we know people move markets as much as it's based on fundamentals and technicals. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think as an analyst, you just have to be open to understanding that you don't control the market. A lot of people have this illusion of control and illusion of knowledge, and not everybody is right. You may very well have been wrong, or you may be right, but you may be right, but the sentiment in the market is different. So you may have an excellent company that has a poorly performing stock. So I think at that point, you really just have to ensure that your research is done well, that you get, what I would say, you get information, and let me just be careful how I say this. You speak to people, whether it's within your firm or outside, that can critically assess the company with you, because you may very well be biased. There are investment biases. You may very well grow up on your Grace Kennedy and you eat your Jack mackerel every day and you have an emotional tie to the company. So you believe that the stock is going to go 500 because everybody loves Jack mackerel. But if you talk to Jason, Jason can say, oh, well, I do think Grace is a great company, and based on ABC, they can do well and they can go up to a 150, but I don't think they'll go 500. So it's good to have people like that to bounce ideas off. And it's also good to understand that you may be wrong. And when you find out that you're wrong, be willing to change to change your decision or to update your decision on that company and move forward. Even the most successful investors in some of the most efficient markets in the world are wrong from time to time.
Okay, thanks. So I was wondering about the current market conditions. I know you're focused on alternative investments and you perhaps don't look at your stock portfolio very frequently, but I don't know if you've noticed what's been going on. Things have just been going left, like you expect it to go a certain way. And a company comes out with excellent results and it doesn't exactly go how you expect. So for example, Jason showed the results of MJE and there's not much of a response to it. Or I've seen analysts expect SRS to do really well and they didn't even get half of what they wanted from the market. And that's a real estate company. So just stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
So I actually heard the comments at the start, and the mental note that I made was that we have to understand the companies and how they function. I found, and you can probably see, that the listed funds don't perform very well in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And they very rarely, if at all, for any long period of time, trade close to their NAV. The NAV meaning the net asset value, or what the assets are actually worth. They trade at a discount, to a steep discount. So that's generally, I mean, even if you look across in other markets, these funds do trade at discounts. But I find in Jamaica that there is not a lot of positive sentiment around this. The sentiment really kicks in when the price gets extremely low. So for example, if a QWI drops to that 50, 60 cent region and people say, look, this is always the bottom, right? Every time it goes here, it bounces back, I'm gonna buy this up more. And then that creates a form of support in the price. It goes back up to 80 cents and people say, but look, people always sell at 80. So they start selling again. So it ends up trading within that band. So I would say just try to understand the companies better. As it pertains to Cygnus, I think them probably not getting as much as they wanted was more of a market issue, meaning that So this is why it's also important, and that's why I like the presentation that Jason did. It's important to understand that the investment market is within the context of the economy. So from before the BOJ and different players in the market would have been talking about liquidity in the market. So there wasn't as much liquidity in the market, and the market has even less liquidity now going forward. Because what is happening is a part of it is that the BOJ stance has shifted. If you heard about the policy rate decision, so they've shifted from an accommodative stance to a restrictive stance. So they've actually said that they're going to actively do things to limit the amount of liquidity in the market. So that can factor in as well. And I mean, so there are many factors that can play into that. And usually when a company does not get the take up that they expected in raising capital, it means that there may not be as much interest as you would want for that. So when the stock actually lists, you're going to have a lot of investors that would have wanted to come out that are going to post up their shares for sale. Now, when they see that nobody is buying that above the price, they're going to get panicked, and they're going to say, look, okay, I'm willing to take a 3% loss, a 5% loss, just to get out of this now, and that number keeps on growing. So that could be a possible reason. But you're right, I'm not in the equity market much.
But Simon, the funny thing about that though is that the Barita APO came out after Signos. Signos was on the market for a really long time, and Barita oversubscribed. So that's really interesting.
Well, I can't comment much on that, but what I can say is that at Barita, we work really hard to ensure that our issuances are extremely successful.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for your insight.
I think a huge factor also was just marketing, but yeah, I'll pass it on to Jason quickly.
Yeah, makes sense, Malik. We enjoyed our time very much with you, Simon. Thanks for coming. I know we're quite a bit past 5 o'clock, and I think that's a place that we need to stop. Thanks for sharing your insights, not only coming up as a student, as an entry-level worker, but rising to the position where you are the head of alternative investments and structured finance at Barita Investments Limited and the founder of Stocks on the Rocks. Simon, it's been a pleasure, and we look forward to applying what you've said to, become better investors ourselves and work in the industry, those of us who want to. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys, and thanks for everything. Take care.
Thank you so much, Simon. We learned a lot from you, and we really appreciate your time and all the insights you gave. Thank you.
No problem. Anytime, anything from Malik and the guys.
Yeah. All right, Simon. Stay safe. All good.
All right, have a great week, guys. Thank you for coming out to YIC this week again. And we will see you, well, we actually have our mid-semester break next week. So guys, there is no meeting next week, but we'll resume the following week. So stay tuned. Make sure you're officially signed up, so you're on the email list, you're in the WhatsApp group, so you can always get updates and see what's coming next. So thank you guys for coming out, and all the best with exams. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
All right, bye, guys. Stay safe.
And remember your stock market game.
There you go. Remember to sign up for the stock market game before Friday, midday.